really had the opportunity to experience TIR. I myself come from a background of having PTSD, more from childhood trauma type of stuff. And so I participated in using this technique for about 1.5 years, and I watched significant improvements in my life. Before, I was unable to live with people. I had to spend a lot of time alone. I never really had a relationship that was very lengthy, and I just generally had a hard time being with people, and even with myself. And since I have been able to do TIR, about 6 months in, I met my fiance. We're still together 2.5 years later. And it's really impacted my life in a lot of tremendous ways. And so the way that I'm very interested in doing this, I think there's a lot of talk about PTSD. It's becoming something that is more, culturally appropriate to talk about. However, I think that a lot of what I tend to see is stuff to do with veterans, stuff to do with people who have been in war. And I think that a lot of times it's hard to remember that there's so many what we call, wounded warriors that are civilians that have just come from traumatic backgrounds, full of chaos and things. And I think that in the work that I do, I can't really put an exact number on it, but I would say that about 75% of the people I work with do have some sort of trauma. And I notice that it usually is intergenerational, meaning that a child will, a parent will have PTSD, and because of their symptoms, they will sometimes pass it on to their children. And so I think it's really important to get the word out there about PTSD and how it doesn't just affect people who have been at war, but also people who, everyday people like you and me, who have been in a variety of experiences.
Now, so before you went through TIR, had you tried other types of, obviously therapy type of things? And when you first started this, what was the initial reaction to it?
Well, I remember I actually worked with Sherry Peacock, and I remember when she told me, she said, it's like nothing you've ever experienced. I don't really know how to describe it. Just come in and do this. She said it's a 2-hour session. I had been in other therapies, talk therapy, traditional type of talk therapy, and while it would help to sort of eliminate just sort of surface stuff, it never really got down to the heart of the matter. And I found that with TIR, my results were immediate. From the very first session that I had, I felt a relief from some of my symptomology. And within about 6 months, I really noticed a significant decrease in my symptoms. And it's hard to describe to someone who hasn't tried it, but anyone who has PTSD, even if you don't have PTSD, but have anything that's kind of troubling you on any level, I find it would be helpful for anybody.
So obviously we're trying to get the word out about this. Mm-hmm. What is one aspect, maybe, just one tiny aspect of the program that you think people should know about? Obviously it does work, but... Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest part to me is that it's completely self-directed. I have tried other trauma therapies, such as EMDR, which is designed to do sort of eye movement, just help to integrate the trauma into both hemispheres of the brain so that it no longer triggers you when exposed to whatever the stimulus event might be. With TIR, I discovered that it was completely self-guided. There was no judgment, there was no interpretation. It's just, they would ask you a question, you answer it, and when you're done, you say stop. And so for me, it was very empowering, where I had a lot of trauma issues, I had a lot of, different things that happened, and to kind of give me the power to say, I'm going to guide this, I'm going to direct my own ship, perhaps even for one of the first times in my life. And I think that that's the biggest thing for people who might be scared, who might be worried about, maybe I'll have symptoms, it might trigger things for me. I found that it did the exact opposite of that, where EMDR I felt completely triggered. Even just being asked, to go through a list of all my traumas, that just really set me off. But TIR was just so gentle and gradual that it really did what I needed it to do.
Anything else you want to add?
I want to add that if you are at all interested, you think you may, have a reason to come to this therapy, I would encourage you to go to TIR.org to check it out, to see the list of facilitators and see if it might be something that's useful to you. I actually work in the Waterville area, so if anyone is interested in tracking me down and getting some TIR, I'd be more than happy, regardless of your insurance or ability to pay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.